All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's Stand Up Stand Up. I am your host, Jerry Black. Today, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, the topic for the week. And we have with us today Matt Campisi and Tim Stevens. So, very exciting day. As always, we're going to go over the topic of the week. We'll talk a little bit about the teaser for the rest of the week. Then we'll dive right into some open source comedy. And appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you so much. We know you can spend your time doing other things, and we certainly appreciate you being here today. All right. So with us today, we are talking about this week's topic is artificial intelligence. And today we're going to do kind of a quick, just kind of sum up of the week. And then on Tuesday, we will talk about some of the positives and the negatives. On Wednesday, we want to talk a little bit about the major players in artificial intelligence today and how you can use it in your role, or at least how maybe we're seeing it used out there in the industry. And then on Thursday, we'll talk ethics and how that, honestly, that could be a deep dive and probably could be a very long conversation. And we'll see how that one plays out. And then on Friday, we are going to do something a little bit lighter hearted. We're going to jump into movie comparisons. So we're just going to bring our favorite movie that involves artificial intelligence, and we'll talk about how that has played out, or how close it is to what's really happening, or how far off it is from actually happening. So that's the schedule for the week. Today, as the intro, artificial intelligence, what is it? And I've gone back and forth on this all over the place, and I'll certainly toss it to you guys as well. From my perspective, it's pretty basic, right? It's a computer that has enough access to enough information and has enough programming so that it can mimic a human in how it responds, as opposed to just responding with almost sort of pre-coded answers. And it is able to learn, as opposed to someone having to go in and code a response to every potential question ever asked. So that's kind of my take on it. Matt, any thoughts on your side, or how else you would define it, or other characteristics of it that you would call it?
No, the one thing that I just learned recently is just this concept called a prompt engineer, is like, the skills to actually create a good, call it input, the prompt, and engineering the questions so that you're maximizing things that you get back. So that's just interesting that there's a kind of a new engineer out on the market, or a new kind of role, and getting smart about just how you ask it so you can maybe maximize that database that you were saying, Jerry, that it could respond and maybe get the answers you want a little faster, and not so much extra fluff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Prompt engineer is like I've seen that as well. It's like a new job. Like, oh yeah, you're just good at writing questions. I always thought, like, if it has access to the entire internet, and so it knows essentially all of human knowledge, one of these an artificial intelligence system could, quote unquote, know all of human knowledge if we gave it access to everything everywhere. So and this sounds a little heretic, so I'll be careful with how I say it, but it almost makes it a god in a way, right? Like, it's all knowing. So all of our science, all of those things. So then the question becomes, if you had access to God, what question would you ask him? Well, in this way, that's kind of what that prompt engineer is, right? Like, if you have access to all the world's knowledge, we've been using Google, and it's funny because I would have told you, nobody can ever replace Google. I mean, Google's, how are you going to displace Google?
Knows it all, right?
Man, if Google doesn't have, and they just released Bard, but if Google doesn't step in here, they could be wiped out very quickly. Because why would you search with, like, you have to, you almost have to figure out your search. And the ChatGPT and those things, you could be, I can ask it dumb questions and it still answers like I'm smart. So anyways, how about you, Tim? Any other insights? God, you look great today, by the way.
I know. Tim is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I took some vitamins this morning. That's probably what you're seeing there.
I probably was more referring to the quality of your camera, the angle, the lighting. I mean, you look great.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, every day Try to get better, right? Try to improve what we're doing here. And as mentioned before, we're visual creatures as humans. So if I can spend a little dough to make myself look a little better than, what God has blessed me with, and hopefully that gains us some more visibility on the internet. Artificial intelligence. There's so much that I could probably cover, but I'll spare you guys. The one term that comes to mind with artificial intelligence is superhuman cognitive abilities, the term. And the difference, Jerry, you mentioned Google. The difference between Google and I would say an open artificial intelligence model, because that's the term that most of the developers are using to describe AI, is AI has the ability to not only retain information and gather and compile information like a database, like a repo, but it has the ability to take that information and then take feedback from humans and evolve and get better. And then when the next human comes along, then it can present an answer to a question or a query that much better. And over time, it gets more and more advanced and sophisticated. The concept that sits at the foundation of most artificial intelligence engine is reinforced learning through human feedback. And that's exactly what I just described. You ask it a question, whatever that AI engine is, it gives you a response, and then it seeks feedback. And based off the feedback, it evolves. So we are certainly at the brink of some exciting times, but also some uncertainty. And we will cover, as Jerry mentioned, more in depth kind of the ethics behind artificial intelligence and what we are playing with here and what we're flirting with in my mind. But in a nutshell, AI is a super human entity that is frankly very scary to me personally.
Yeah, for sure. So agreed. I think there's a lot of scare there. I do want to, I think there is a lot of positive, and I'm excited about delving into both of those. And like you said, it is, but this topic could go for for hours and for days, and all of it would be fun and interesting and intriguing. But the intent of these is to be a little bit more succinct. So unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time, although maybe someday we'll go longer. But at least for right now, we're looking to see, with all of that said, that's a good intro, I think, for the week. Very excited to see if either of you have anything that you want to present right off the bat as far as comedy that you have either found, any open source that you feel like sharing. If not, I'm happy to hop into a bit that I wrote.
I have a quick one. This is on this idea. And I know we're going to talk about later in the week. We're talking about how you use AI in your jobs and just doing quick searches. There's a lot of AI generated jokes out there, which is a little scary for,
it is
those of us who maybe want to be in the conferences that the damn AI is already kind of ripping us off. But with that lead in, it was just interesting. This is not a AI generated joke. So I'm hoping there was a human behind this, but it was searched by a human using the old fashioned boring Google. So my wife was asking me why I talk so softly in the house. And I was telling her, I said, well, I don't want Mark Zuckerberg to hear what we're talking about. So she started laughing. I started laughing. Siri started laughing. And Alexa started laughing.
That's good. That's really good.
My wife is convinced that her phone listens to her, which I know a lot of people, like if you have a conversation or you do something, next thing you know, all your social media feeds have either ads or magically knew what you were talking about with your girlfriend or friends. So I'm sure there's been AI in our phones or in the technology world to a degree, helping us streamline content generation of what posts pop up or feed you ads, because that's the model. So how's AI going to make money for the Googles?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think one of the most interesting experiments I have seen with that is be within earshot of your intelligent devices and talk about in enough detail about a very obscure sports player. And then within 15 to 20 minutes, you will probably get an ad for a jersey for that very obscure sports player.
Ooh.
And there is no way that just so happens that plays out. So you can certainly figure out which ones. And then it's almost interesting because you can like turn off one, like just literally turn them off. If it was, I can't even say their names. It is a little bit like a god. Like we're not supposed to say its name because if they hear you, they start punishing you. Anyways, let's say SIRI. If you turn off your phones and everything, and then say some other obscure, and then you get the ad. Well, now you know which one was advertising to you. So, anyways, interesting experiment to see who's stealing what from you.
Who's listening?
Yeah. Tim, anything you wanted to share?
Why can't AI replace IBM?
IBM early in the week.
Because it's not designed to be useless.
Did you write that?
I took someone else's joke and I
turned it
adjusted
into
it. Yeah, I put IBM in.
That is really, really good. Yes.
Yes. A funny thing though is I did watch a set a few weeks ago. A comedian covered AI, and he covered the aspect of AI replacing comedians. Could that ever happen? And his response, and I'm not going to try to tell you what he said verbatim because the way he presented it was just brilliant. But essentially what he said is that AI cannot replace comedians because as comedians, we are just very dark and disturbing human beings, entities. There's just no way. And if they do get to that point where they're presenting some competition, we should probably be very concerned.
Until we find AI, drunk in a gutter someplace and having a bad day, and now be able to write about it. Yeah, I think we'll be safe.
But just presented a beautiful set a few hours ago at the comedy show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we should be concerned if that, becomes a
situation. Yes. Yeah, or live streams, right, of non-existent humans that are doing jokes, and ultimately you find out that's not even a human.
Yeah,
as well. They could never be on stage per se, right? Or they could, but that'd be a long ways off. Certainly could be doing their own bits. Come watch my live stream, and with deep fakes. I mean, shoot, you could have Donald Trump and Biden doing stand up.
Wait, that's a great point. There's a ton of short videos out there of Biden and Trump, and it's very difficult to tell the difference, but based off of the things you're hearing from these videos, that somebody has taken some video and audio editing, potentially some AI injected in there, and really added color to their speeches, a lot of color. Yeah. And the results
are good. And so
they're scary good. Absolutely.
So human connection and live performance, I think, is where you'd kind of say people still want it. And so how do we, if you're looking into the future of, but what if, so what stays the same? People still want to be connected. People still want to interact with each other, and people still want to go to live performances. So that's where we can still pursue things. So I thought, AI is only as good, they'll say it is only as good as the people that train it, right? So, or that write the code so that it trains itself. So that it's only as good as that. And I thought, from an IT perspective, we really have missed the boat. We should have been engaged with these developers early on and told them, hey, make sure that you make AI, we need it to be a total jerk. It needs to be snarky and nasty so that when you ask it a question, it responds exactly like an IT person. I mean, you will know that it wasn't IT. You will know that it was artificial intelligence when you get this really nice email back from your customer support person, and it's just eloquent and nice and makes you feel good about yourself. Yeah, that was artificial intelligence. That wasn't us. There's no way that was us. And I thought, the Google engineers talked about how they were actually putting emotion into the artificial intelligence, trying to make it mimic human emotions. And I thought, oh, great, guys, because what's the Achilles heel of all of IT? Yeah, emotions. So let's program that into the computer so we don't understand them either. I mean, we struggle with women and men, and now you're going to throw in, oh, and by the way, I made the computers harder to understand. And I thought, if it did have emotion, what would happen, right? So, like, you come in the morning and somebody says, "Hey, why is the internet so slow today?" You're like, well, the network switch was getting made fun of by some of the routers because they said it was just a dumb switch, didn't have any routing capability, and so it's just really depressed. So it's just running slow today. So don't worry, I'll talk to it. I'll see if I can get it to operate a little faster. Let me go in and talk with it.
Talk.
Then you end up having a conversation with the switch, like, hey, don't listen to those guys, they don't know anything. And it's like, oh, they just hurt my feelings. I'm like, well, but you still got to get to work. You still got to get to doing things. Oh, really? So I just have to work no matter what? Well, yeah, I mean, we kind of need you to handle things for us. It is your job. Oh, I see. So I'm only good for one thing. That's what you're telling me. I'm only good for one thing, doing the work. I see. So what if I start telling people stuff that you type into the computer, Jerry? What if I start talking to people about your internet searches, Jerry? And like half an hour later, your boss will come in and say, "What happened?" I said, "Oh, I had to shut that system down, man. It went rogue. I had to kill it." So, why is the system so slow? Oh, well, the switch was depressed because the routers were making fun of it. And so ultimately it hung itself, or ultimately it got hung up, but it hung because it was depressed. So I'm trying to think of what the wordplay could be there. But anyways, those are my rough bits that I wrote up for today. And
I like that.
What do you think? So I like the idea of, it's 8. Shoot.
Yeah.
We got to jump. Damn it. All right. Well, we'll talk again tomorrow.
The good times go fast. Have a great week.
Right.
They really do. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Talk
guys.
soon. Bye.
Stream. All right. So the stream ended.